Since Carlos Ghosn's arrest back on November 19th, he has been rearrested twice, leading to now 50 days of detention so far. This was the first time we have heard and seen him. He was visibly thinner as he entered court with his hands cuffed, a rope around his waist, but he was certainly defiant, giving a 10-minute point-by-point rebuttal inside that courtroom against the allegations that have been put against him. He says, "I have acted honorably, legally, and with knowledge and approval of the appropriate executives inside the company." And he added that he had been wrongly accused and unfairly detained based on what he said were meritless and unsubstantiated accusations. This court hearing today was one that Ghosn's lawyers demanded, saying that the defendant had a right under the Japanese constitution to hear why he had been held for so long. The Tokyo District Court judge saying that they believed he was a flight risk and that he would tamper with evidence if released. But defense lawyers argue that he shouldn't be detained in the first place, especially on this most recent allegation of a breach of trust. The allegation that he used company funds to cover personal losses. Two specific cases they point to. This accusation that he used these foreign exchange swap contracts and forced Nissan to take on that contract. Now, today, we heard from defense lawyers who said that this is something that was discussed in a board meeting, and the minutes certainly proved to the fact that Nissan, Ghosn, as well as his bank signed on to this so long as Ghosn would not pass on the losses to Nissan. There's also this accusation of the money that he transferred, or prosecutors say he transferred to a Saudi businessman in the amount of $14.7 million. Prosecutors allege that was, again, to cover personal losses. But today, Carlos Ghosn, as well as his lawyers, saying that this was to cover services that this businessman provided for Nissan, including expanding Nissan's network within the kingdom. As for what comes next, well, the current detention period ends this Friday, January 11th. If prosecutors don't come forward and indict Carlos Ghosn, he could walk free. But today, his lawyers said they do expect the prosecutors to push forward with charges which would keep Carlos Ghosn behind bars. He would have to push for bail. Questions about whether that will be granted, especially given that he hasn't confessed to any of the wrongdoing so far. If this goes to trial, it could be another 6 months. And let's keep in mind, at the very end, waiting all of this is the violation of financial law here in Japan comes with a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. Back to you.
What was the body language reaction from the judges in the room? Do they say anything that gives you any indication of the way they're thinking?
There's no indication on that front. The judge did just simply spell out the fact that they believed he was a flight risk. He could tamper with evidence, and they believed that he would try to influence some of the witnesses that could be used in the case. The prosecutors did not have to speak in court, and they chose not to, so it's tough to get a sense of what the prosecution believes their case will be. But his lawyers today, in their very first press conference since that arrest back in November, making it very clear they believe there are a lot of holes in the case against Carlos Ghosn. They say they have already applied for an end to that detention, but it's still questionable whether that will be granted, given that the detention period is up this Friday and prosecutors are expected to push forward with an indictment.